Let's go make this precious pinwheel block. But first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. We're gonna make a pinwheel block, and it's one of my favorite blocks to make. Now, our block is going to be 4 blocks across and 4 down. Our quilt block is going to be 4 half square triangles. There's going to be 4 of these across and 4 of these down. So I need 16 of each piece in order to do that. Now, our finished block is going to be 18 inches by 18 inches because that's the size that I make my appliques, and these pinwheel blocks will go in between the appliques for my students. So I started by cutting my pieces 5 3/8 by 5 3/8 and then cut them on a diagonal. Now, what I'm going to do is sew each one of them pretty side to pretty side. I'm going to put one of these blues with one of these colors. The triangles, I'm going to take them, put them pretty side to pretty side, and I'm going to straight stitch right here. Straight stitch, back stitching when I start and when I stop, and I'm going to do all of these. And I'm going to chain piece mine, and I know lots of people don't back stitch when they chain piece, but y'all know my grandmother scared me. So I'm back stitching at the beginning and the end of each block because my grandma said if I didn't, my stuff would fall apart. I'm sewing this with a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm getting the 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of my presser foot with the edge of my fabric. Do not look at your needle, just look at your presser foot and your fabric, and that will give you a nice straight seam. I'm sewing all of these on the longest side of the triangle to make my half square triangles for my quilt block. Okay, we've sewn them, we've cut them apart. Now we're gonna iron them. This is my ironing situation. Heat resistant pad, wool mat, sheet iron, all available from Walmart, all linked in my Walmart storefront if you're looking for them. When I'm ironing my blocks, I just want them to be reasonably flat. I don't care which way the seam goes. If you care, then iron yours any way that you want to. Okay, we've ironed them. Now we're gonna lay them out to look like precious pinwheels. Okay, here's our pinwheels. Now, it's pretty important that you sew these on the right side as you pick them up to sew them, or you won't have a pinwheel. So I'm going to use my clip trick. I'm going to put a clip at the top of each one of my rows. That's going to let me know that's the top piece. It's going to help me keep my pieces in order as I sew them. Now, if you're not comfortable stacking your blocks up like I'm about to do and picking them up and sewing them, then don't do it. Just sew them 2 at a time. Pick up 2, sew them together, put them down, and pick up 2 more. There's no shame in that. I promise. I did it for a really long time. And then when I thought I had figured it out, I was so proud of myself. I sewed a whole row, and I was like, I got this. Sewed the second row, and nothing matched because I did not, in fact, have it. So if you're sewing 2 at a time, no shame. And definitely no judgment from this side. So I have my 4 rows. I'm going to pick up my first block from my first row. And I know it lays like this. So I'm going to turn it over just like this, line up my seams, and I'm going to sew right here. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. Now I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to, this is the top because it has my clip. I'm going to lay that face down on top of the next block. I'm going to line up these seams, and I'm going to sew this. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop. Now, this is what I have. And I know this is the top because there's my clip. So now I need to sew these 2 together. So I'm going to put them on top of each other, pretty side to pretty side, and sew down this side. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop. Now this is what I have. I've sewn my first row. Now I'm going to sew the second, the third, and the 4th row exactly the same way. Okay, we've sewn them. Now let's iron them. Now, I'm not ironing them in any way. I mean my seams specifically. You iron them however you want to. I just want my rows to be reasonably flat. So I'm just ironing them so that they're reasonably flat. I don't care which way the seams go in the back. And after we iron these, we're gonna put our block together. And I can already tell you it's so cute. Okay, now let's lay our block back out. I've left my clips on this whole time because that tells me that's the top, and it's gonna help me get my block back in the order it's supposed to go in. Oh, all this dust has my nose itching. Okay, here we go. Not like that. Here's what our block is supposed to look like. So now we're gonna pick them up 1 row at a time, place that pretty side to pretty side, straight stitch down this side. We're gonna sew it with a 1/4 inch seam, And we're going to get the 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of our fabric with the edge of our presser foot. Don't look at your needle. If you'll follow the edge of your fabric with the edge of your presser foot, your seams will be nice and straight. And yes, back stitch when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. We've sewn this. Now what we're going to do is sew the next row. So we're just going to turn it over and lay it pretty side to pretty side and sew it the same way. And then we're going to do our last row. All right, here's our quilt block. Now we can take our clips off, and look at these precious pinwheels. So I'm using these quilt blocks in a sampler quilt because we've made a whole bunch of them together. We have one more to make, and then we're going to put our sampler quilt together, and I'm super excited to show y'all what it's looking like because we've seen every individual block, but not all of them together. And I can't wait to see what y'all are doing with all these quilt blocks. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.